In the vast expanse of the ancient world, where empires rose and fell, there was one battle that echoed louder than most. In a desert far from the heart of Rome, where the relentless sun bore down on golden sands and the ambitions of great men, two colossal powers would clash in a confrontation for the ages. The Roman legions, symbols of an empire's might, against the swift and deadly Parthian horse archers. This wasn't just a battle, it was a lesson in pride, strategy, and the unpredictable nature of war. Join us as we journey back to a time where honor, betrayal, and fate intertwined, and uncover the mesmerizing story of the Battle of Carrhae. The origins of the Parthian conflict can be traced back to the political maneuvers of three powerful figures, Marcus Licinius Crassus, Pompeius Magnus, and Julius Caesar, collectively known as the First Triumvirate. In an effort to strengthen their alliance, which had been showing signs of strain, they convened in Caesar's territory of Cisalpine Gaul during March and April of 56 BC. Their discussions at Ravenna and Lucca centered around reinforcing their bond, which had been established 4 years prior. Their strategy was clear. They would rally their supporters and resources to ensure Caesar's command in Gaul was extended and to sway the upcoming 55 BC elections in their favor. Their ultimate goal? To see Crassus and Pompeius jointly hold the Councilship once again. Their tactics were rooted in tradition. They sought to expand their influence through military commands, placing allies in pivotal roles, and pushing forward legislation that served their interests. To influence the elections, they employed a mix of financial incentives, leveraging relationships, and even showcased the might of 1,000 troopers brought over from Gaul by Crassus's son, Publius. Their efforts bore fruit. They not only secured the consulship but also dominated other key positions. A significant piece of legislation, the Lex Tribonia, introduced by the tribune Trebonius, granted them extended proconsulships of 5 years, mirroring Caesar's tenure in Gaul. While Pompeius set his sights on the Spanish provinces, Crassus had his eyes on Syria, making no secret of his ambitions to confront Parthia. In Parthia, the political landscape was tumultuous. In 57 BC, King Phraates III met his end at the hands of his own sons, Orota II and Mithridates IV. This fratricidal act ignited a fierce struggle for the throne. Initially, Orota gained the upper hand, and in a bid to maintain some semblance of unity, he designated Mithridates as the ruler of Media, effectively making him a governor. Yet, the truce was short-lived. Another confrontation forced Mithridates to seek refuge with Aulus Gabinius, the Roman proconsul stationed in Syria. Gabinius saw an opportunity in the Parthian succession crisis. By supporting Mithridates, Rome could potentially install a puppet ruler in Parthia, extending its influence over the vast kingdom. But, in a twist of fate, Gabinius shifted his attention to the political intrigues of Ptolemaic Egypt, leaving Mithridates to his own devices. Undeterred, Mithridates launched an invasion into Babylonia. His campaign started promisingly, but he soon found himself facing the formidable Parthian commander, Surena. When Crassus took over from Gabinius, he too recognized the potential of an alliance with Mithridates. Setting his sights on Parthia, Crassus began his campaign by targeting Osroene, a Parthian vassal state. In 54 BC, however, his progress was stymied as he lingered by the Belek River, awaiting reinforcements. This delay proved costly. In the interim, Surena laid siege to Seleucia on the Tigris, capturing, defeating, and ultimately executing Mithridates. With Mithridates out of the picture, Orota faced no internal challenges. He turned his attention northwards, invading Armenia. The Armenian king, Artavast II, recognizing the might of the Parthian force, quickly switched allegiances to join Orota. Marcus Crassus, known for his immense wealth, was around 62 years old when he set his sights on Parthia. Ancient sources, especially the writings of Plutarch, often paint greed as Crassus's defining flaw and the driving force behind his military ambitions. However, historian Eric S. Grun posits a different perspective, suggesting that Crassus aimed to bolster the public treasury, given that personal riches were something he already possessed in abundance. Contemporary historians often attribute his motivations to a mix of insatiable greed, jealousy of Pompey's military successes, and a sense of rivalry. Crassus's military accolades, which included quelling the Spartacus uprising and triumphing at the Battle of the Colline Gate, paled in comparison to the feats of Pompeius and, after Caesar's campaigns in Gaul, to those of Caesar himself. Interestingly, Plutarch mentions a letter from Caesar to Crassus, endorsing the latter's Parthian invasion, suggesting that Caesar saw the campaign as a complement to his own endeavors, rather than a competition. Crassus's decision to invade Parthia was also influenced by the perceived simplicity of the task. Previous Roman legions had effortlessly subdued the larger armies of eastern powers like Pontus and Armenia. Crassus assumed Parthia would be similarly straightforward. Yet, Cicero hints at another motivation, the aspirations of Crassus's son, Publius. Having demonstrated his military prowess in Gaul under Caesar, Publius returned to Rome as a celebrated officer, eager to carve out his political path. The Battle of Carrhae is seen by Roman chroniclers not just as a disaster for Rome and a blemish on Marcus Crassus's record, but also as a tragic end to the budding career of young Publius. The Parthian campaign wasn't universally supported in Rome. Cicero labeled it a war with no justification, noting that Rome and Parthia had an existing treaty. Aetius Capito, a tribune, was a vocal critic, even performing a public curse ritual as Crassus set out. Yet, undeterred by the opposition and ominous signs, Marcus Crassus departed Rome on November 14, 55 BC. Publius joined his father in Syria the following winter, bringing with him a loyal contingent of 1,000 Celtic cavalrymen from Gaul, who stood by their leader until the end. Upon reaching Syria in late 55 BC, Crassus wasted no time in leveraging his vast fortune to muster an army. As detailed by Plutarch, he managed to gather 7 legions, which amounted to approximately 28,000 to 35,000 heavy infantry. In addition, he had around 4,000 light infantry and 4,000 cavalry at his disposal. This number included the 1,000 Gallic cavalrymen that his son Publius had brought along. With the support of the Hellenic settlements in Syria and an additional 6,000 cavalry from Artavasdes, the Armenian king, Crassus set his sights on Parthia. Artavasdes, however, offered a piece of strategic advice: to approach Parthia via Armenia, bypassing the treacherous desert. He even promised to bolster Crassus's forces with an extra 10,000 cavalry and 30,000 infantry. But Crassus, confident or perhaps overzealous, declined the offer. Instead, he chose the direct path through Mesopotamia, aiming to seize its major cities. Reacting to this, the Parthian king, Orota II, split his forces. While he led the majority, primarily foot archers with a smattering of cavalry, to deal with the Armenians, he dispatched the remainder under the leadership of Spabad Surena to monitor and potentially hinder Crassus's progress. Orota hadn't expected Surena's significantly smaller force to actually defeat Crassus. His goal was merely to stall him. Surena's contingent, as described by Plutarch, comprised 1,000 mail-clad horsemen and an even larger number of light-armed cavalry. With the inclusion of slaves and vassals, Surena's force swelled to 10,000, further supported by 1,000 camel baggage train. Guidance for Crassus came from an Osroene chieftain named Ariames, who had previously aided Pompey in his eastern endeavors. Trusting Ariames proved to be a grave error, as he was secretly on the Parthian payroll. Ariames misled Crassus, convincing him of the Parthians' supposed vulnerability and urging an immediate attack. He then cunningly directed Crassus's forces into the harshest parts of the desert, far from any water sources. To further complicate matters, Crassus received a plea from Artavasdes, stating that the primary Parthian force was in Armenia and urgently requesting assistance. Disregarding this, Crassus pressed on into Mesopotamia. It was near the town of Carrhae that he finally confronted Surena's army. Upon learning of the Parthian army's presence, which was estimated to be around 10,000 strong, panic rippled through Crassus's ranks. Cassius, a senior general under Crassus, advised deploying the army in the traditional Roman formation, infantry at the center flanked by cavalry. Crassus initially agreed but soon shifted strategy, arranging his forces into a square formation, with each side comprising 12 cohorts. This formation would prevent flanking but sacrificed mobility. As the Romans approached a stream, Crassus's generals suggested setting up camp and attacking the next day, allowing the troops to recuperate. However, Publius's eagerness to engage swayed Crassus to confront the Parthians immediately. The Parthians employed psychological warfare. They began by beating drums, creating a deafening and disorienting noise. Then, Surena commanded his Cataphracts to unveil their gleaming armor, a sight meant to intimidate the Romans. Surena's initial plan was to break the Roman lines with a Cataphract charge. However, deeming it insufficient, he dispatched horse archers to encircle the Roman square. The Romans tried to repel them but were overwhelmed by the barrage of arrows. The Romans then adopted the Testudo Formation, a defensive tactic where shields were interlocked to form a protective shell. This made them less vulnerable to arrows but susceptible to the cataphract charges. Crassus hoped to outlast the Parthians, banking on them exhausting their arrow supply. But he was dismayed to discover that the Parthians had camels laden with arrows for resupply. In a desperate move, Crassus sent Publius with a detachment to drive off the horse archers. The Parthians feigned retreat, drawing Publius's forces away, only to trap and decimate them. Publius, facing inevitable defeat, took his own life. Crassus, attempting to aid his son, was met with the grim sight of Publius's head on a spear. As night approached, the Parthians intensified their assault. Crassus, devastated by his son's death, ordered a retreat to Carrhae, leaving behind thousands of wounded who were slaughtered by dawn. The following day, Surena extended an olive branch, proposing a truce. Crassus, hesitant to negotiate, was pressured by his demoralized troops. During the negotiations, a skirmish broke out, leading to the death of Crassus and his generals. In a macabre display, the Parthians supposedly poured molten gold into Crassus's mouth, symbolizing his insatiable greed. His severed head was later used in a theatrical performance for the Parthian king. The remnants of the Roman force tried to escape, but most were either captured or killed. This battle, with Roman casualties estimated at 20,000 dead and 10,000 captured, stands as one of Rome's most devastating defeats, while the Parthians suffered minimal losses. The aftermath of the Battle of Carrhae was a dark chapter for Rome. The humiliation was deepened by the capture of several legionary eagles, symbols of Roman military might and honor. Plutarch recounts a particularly demeaning episode. The Parthians singled out a Roman prisoner of war who bore a resemblance to Crassus, dressed him in women's attire, and paraded him throughout Parthia. This spectacle was a blatant mockery of Roman traditions, as the Parthians forced other Roman captives to hail this foe Crassus as imperator during the parade, mimicking a Roman triumph. While Orota II led the main Parthian force to subdue and annex Armenia, the success of Surena at Carrhae became his undoing. Envious of Surena's accomplishments, Orota II ordered his execution. Subsequently, Orota dispatched his son Pacorus on a military expedition into Roman Syria, which did not yield the desired results. The Battle of Carrhae marked one of the initial significant confrontations between Rome and Parthia. Its outcome emboldened Parthia to launch multiple invasions into Syria and Armenia. Rome, on the other hand, recognized the vulnerability of its legions against Parthian cavalry in open terrains without adequate support. Gaius Cassius Longinus, who had served as a quaestor under Crassus, managed to lead around 10,000 survivors from the battlefield back to Syria. He continued to oversee the province for 2 more years, successfully fending off further incursions by Orodes' son, Pacorus. Cassius's defense of Antioch against a Parthian siege and his subsequent ambush of Pacorus's retreating forces at Antigonia, resulting in the death of the Parthian deputy Osaces, earned him Cicero's commendation. Cassius's significance in Roman history didn't end there. He later became instrumental in the plot to assassinate Julius Caesar in 44 BC. The fate of the 10,000 Roman prisoners taken by the Parthians is intriguing. They were reportedly relocated to Alexandria Margiana near the northeastern frontier of the Parthian Empire in 53 BC. There, they are believed to have integrated with the local populace through marriage. Some theories suggest that a portion of these prisoners might have later been involved in the founding of the Chinese city of Liqian after aligning with the Xiongnu during their battle against the Han dynasty at Jiji. However, this theory remains a topic of debate among historians. The loss of the Golden Aquili, the esteemed legionary battle standards, to the Parthians was a profound moral and symbolic defeat for Rome. Such a loss was perceived as an ill omen, and the repercussions were felt deeply within the Roman psyche. Caesar, at the time of his assassination, had been contemplating a war of vengeance against the Parthians. Rumors suggested that had Caesar emerged victorious, the retribution would have been severe, especially with the surviving son of Crassus among the Roman ranks. However, the trajectory of Roman history took a different turn. The Roman Republic's decline, which had begun with Sulla's march on Rome in 88 BC, was exacerbated by the loss of Crassus and his legions, drastically altering Rome's power dynamics. An old hypothesis posits that the deaths of Crassus and Julia in 54 BC effectively dissolved the First Triumvirate. This dissolution precipitated the Civil War, with Caesar emerging victorious and the Republic transitioning into an autocratic regime. While there was a time gap between Crassus's demise and the Civil War's onset, some historians, like Gaius Stern, argue that Crassus's death weakened the First Triumvirate's ties to the aristocracy. This destabilization heightened political tensions, which eventually erupted into conflict. The battle's immediate aftermath might have disrupted certain private relationships that had previously kept political tensions in check. Regionally, the Battle of Carrhae's long-term repercussions were limited. Rome's retaliatory invasion by Parthia in 40 BC was thwarted by Publius Ventidius Bassus. Moreover, Mark Antony's 36 BC invasion of Parthia, though unsuccessful, indicated that Carrhae hadn't deterred Roman ambitions. A fascinating rumor suggests that some survivors of Crassus's army might have journeyed as far as China. In the 1940s, Homer H. Dubs, an American sinologist, proposed that the inhabitants of Lycian might be descendants of Roman soldiers captured post-Carrhae. Dubs theorized that these prisoners might have been relocated by the Parthians to their eastern frontier and possibly served as mercenaries in the 36 BC Battle of Gigi between the Chinese and the Xiongnu. He pointed to Chinese records mentioning a fish-scale formation of soldiers and a unique double wooden palisade, which he believed alluded to Roman military tactics. However, the absence of definitive Roman artifacts in the region, like coins or weapons, makes this theory speculative. Most historians remain skeptical of Dubs' claims. Rob Gifford referred to this theory as one of the rural myths. Yet, the intriguing possibility of Roman soldiers ending up in China has captured imaginations, inspiring works like Alfred Duggan's novel Winter Quarters. Thank you for watching this episode of History Uncovered. The Battle of Carrhae is just one of the many riveting tales from our shared past, showcasing the complexities and intrigues of ancient civilizations. If you found this video informative and engaging, please like and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating stories from the past. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications so that you never miss a new video. We appreciate your support and interest in history. Before you go, the algorithm suggests another captivating episode for you. It's on the screen right now. Check it out and continue your journey through time with us.